During my grandmother's will reading, I noticed my uncle forge her signature on a document when the lawyer stepped out. He thought he'd secured everything, but I photographed the whole thing, and when I handed it to the attorney, his inheritance vanished. That's when the family's true colors showed. The pen moved across the paper with practiced precision. I watched my Uncle Raymond destroy 73 years of my grandmother's legacy in under 15 seconds. He didn't know I could see him. The antique mirror on the wall behind the lawyer's desk caught everything. His hunched shoulders, the document spread flat, his hand moving in that distinctive cursive my grandmother had used her entire life. He'd practiced her signature, practiced it enough to make it look natural. And in that moment, while Attorney Gerald Whitmore was in the bathroom, while my Aunt Diane was crying softly into a tissue, my Uncle Raymond Cole was stealing my grandmother's house, her savings, everything she'd spent a lifetime building. I pulled out my phone slowly, angled it toward the mirror. The camera made no sound. 3 photos, 4, 5. My grandmother Eleanor Cole died on a Wednesday morning in April, 3 weeks before her 89th birthday. She went peacefully, the hospice nurse told us. I'd been there the night before, sitting in the chair beside her bed, holding her hand while she slept. She'd been lucid that evening, rare in those final weeks. She talked about my grandfather, dead 22 years now, about the house they'd built together in 1968, about the garden she'd tended every summer. She talked about her children, my mother Patricia, who died when I was 16, and her brother Raymond, who had always been difficult. That was the word she used, difficult. She squeezed my hand when she said it. Nathan, promise me something. Her voice was thin, barely there. Anything, Grandma. Don't let him take what isn't his. Gerald has everything. But Raymond, he's been circling. I can feel it. I was 26 years old, junior analyst at an investment firm downtown. Numbers were my thing, patterns, discrepancies, things that didn't add up. I spent my days staring at spreadsheets looking for anomalies, which is probably why I noticed so many things about my uncle that others missed. Raymond Cole was 58, real estate developer, built a small empire in the 90s, lost most of it in 2008, never recovered, though he maintained the appearance of success. Expensive suits, leased luxury cars, a house he couldn't actually afford. His wife Diane came from old money, but her family had cut her off years ago, reasons no one talked about. The entire family operated on credit and reputation. Both were running out. My grandmother knew this. She'd bailed Raymond out twice before, 2009, 2015, nearly $400,000 total. The will reading was scheduled for 2 p.m. law offices of Whitmore and Associates. Gerald Whitmore himself was handling the estate, 71 years old, white hair, reading glasses perpetually on the end of his nose. I arrived early. Raymond and Diane were already there with their sons. Bradley was on his phone. Keith was staring at the wall. Diane was dabbing her eyes with a tissue. Raymond looked up when I walked in and smiled. Nathan, glad you could make it. The way he said it, like I was a guest at his party, like this was his show. The conference room was dark wood paneling, leather chairs, a long table with a crystal pitcher of water in the center. Mr. Whitmore began reading preliminary documents. I watched Raymond's face. His jaw tightened. Fingers drummed on the table. Eyes kept darting to the folder in front of the attorney. Eleanor's estate is valued at approximately $2.3 million. Raymond's eyes widened slightly. The primary residence on Maple Street, $850,000. Investment accounts totaling $1.2 million. Personal property, jewelry, furniture, a vehicle, $2.3 million. I hadn't known it was that much. My grandmother lived modestly. Same house she'd shared with my grandfather. Same car for 15 years. Raymond looked like he'd just won the lottery. Now, regarding the distribution of assets, Mr. Whitmore said. He paused, flipped through pages. Excuse me for just a moment. I need to retrieve an additional document. He stood, walked out, left us alone. Raymond moved immediately, like he'd been waiting for exactly this opportunity. Opened his briefcase, pulled out a single sheet of paper, spread it flat on the table. From my angle, I could see it was some kind of legal document. His hand moved with practiced ease, the loops and curves of my grandmother's signature flowing naturally. He'd done this before. He'd practiced. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. I reached for my phone slowly, angled it toward the mirror. Click, click, click. Raymond folded the paper, tucked it back into his briefcase, resumed his seat. When Mr. Whitmore returned 30 seconds later, Raymond was sitting with his hands folded, the picture of patience and grief. I looked down at my phone. 5 photos, clear as day. And then Mr. Whitmore said something that made Raymond's face go white. Full story is linked below or on my channel.